Hi, Prerna.
How are you?
Good. I said I'll put the screen up of your of the session.
Acha, okay.
So we are live. So you can, basically, of course, thank you very much, Prerna, to come in. And of course, your insights are going to be really interesting. I know that. You've come on earlier, though, that mediators, mediation, and spirituality, and your discussions were really interesting. So thank you very much. And from here, please just introduce yourself and take it from there, and then we'll have our discussion after that.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Vikram. Good morning to everyone from India. Thank you for inviting me and helping me learn and to share a few views on the topic. Because I sincerely believe that when one teaches to learn. So for us believers, it is important to see his footprints with the eyes of faith. Every direction we mediators move, the supreme power is our guiding force. In fact, in India, the great epic Mahabharata mentions about Lord Krishna, who himself mediated the dispute between the parties, which are the Pandavas and the Kauravas, to restore relationships, prevent wars, and save lives. So everything is under the control of that one supreme, and we are his fortunate chosen mediums as mediators to make a difference, because amicable settlements ultimately lead to prosperity and abundance. Now, coming to Buddha, he had talked about the four noble truths, which were that there exists sorrow, there is a cause for sorrow, the sorrow could be eradicated, and there are means of eradication of sorrow. It's about our perception, expectations, and anticipations, which are responses to our memory bank. Most of our sufferings are man-made, and it is within our power to end them. So life for everyone has to be similar to a river. See, rivers never flow backwards. They're always moving ahead. They're moving forward. And it is not to go backward or get stuck in the banks of the river to stagnate. We all mediators think that it has to be a process which is about the future and to move ahead. Let bygones be bygones. So the mediator, the role of the mediator resonates is basically to respond from one's heart with compassion, understanding, and experiencing that there's something larger than ourselves, which will lead to greater peace. When our desire is for a common good, which I think most mediators think alike, it's for the humanity, it is for the whole world. Ultimately, the fact that you are working collectively will help us succeed. We together are trying to touch lives and transforming them through mediation. See, when we are sitting as mediators, also the fact that, we come from a thinking which I just shared is more about divinity. And when we are sitting on our seats, we feel that, the divine energy, which is infinite, is something which wants nothing for themselves. So, when we put our mind to that mindset, it really helps us, work towards a cause, a selfless cause. And we carry not just about the mind, we carry our hearts, we carry our souls, and we try to carry our patience and a commitment to mediation. We have a strong sense of purpose. And I think that's why we are, we don't very easily give up. We are persuasive, not that we push parties, but yes, we definitely want them to look at options because we have a purpose in our mind. We are trying to transform lives, changing whatever is possible, accepting that is not possible to change, removing things that their parties are unable to accept. And lastly, is rising above what we are neither able to remove or accept, which is, I think the rising above is actually quite a strong component of spirituality. And awareness sets in during mediation when we don't see much difference, because ultimately we're all human beings going through a journey. Their experiences become valid for us too. Because see, ultimately we're all interconnected. We come from that one spirit. It sets us thinking deeply, and the entire structure of desires and ramifications set us in I think a mind frame where we actually start empathizing. We start, looking at options which put the parties away from the burdens and chaos which has been created by their mind. And we try to manifest humility in various ways by being very transparent with the parties. We are open. We try to hold multiple narratives. And of course, the mediators have no personal agenda running here. They are making space for the others, their needs, and in fact, avoiding the biases and the perceptions, which of course, some of them are very inherent, but you have to keep yourself conscious and alert that none of them come in the way. And of course, human nature being so complex, we through our training programs and through mediation sessions that we have, this is something which we keep reiterating in our minds, that yes, the parties have to be most comfortable and they should know that it is a neutral process. Now, our perceptions, our responses are to the attachments to our mind. Ultimately in spirituality, it's all about attachments. Even the Gita talks about it. So it's a constant change. Nothing lasts forever. So our aim should be to try to remove any disturbances which are being caused, and we try to create an atmosphere of peace. And we as mediators are supposed to be defining calmness. So that is something which, through our own actions, we are able to encourage the parties to look at this process deeply. For the parties in conflict, nothing teaches them better than the golden trio, which is their fears, their tears, and the years. We have to not cause any disillusionment to them where they feel they want to abandon the system. We have to persevere for the goodness, and we have to, as mediators, I wouldn't say try to convince them, but yes, through our own methods, we try to make them feel that they should be able to remove any doubt they have in the system of mediation. That is our duty. We should be able to articulate the dispute and the issues at stake, and any undercurrents. Of course, most of the matters, there are a lot of undercurrents, and we kind of have a lot of aggression at times. So this is which is of course a handicap, but it has to be dispelled by the mediator. Now, the existence and all forms of things depends upon the mind. The mind basically is very subjective, and it keeps changing continuously because it's restless like a monkey. And the root of all the sorrows is the mind. It is, as they say, rightly say, it is a powerful servant, but a terrible master. So the mind is the one who actually helps us make the choices if we look at it exclusively. Now, we have to also be aware that what the party needs. So for that, we have to be kind, earnest, and wise. And once parties begin to trust us, they behave accordingly. So trust begets trust. With our patience, understanding, humility. And I would also like to add that, when I was a part of community mediation, you realize the poor have nothing, yet they lose. This is something which, I feel very strongly about. They take a lot of courage and initiative to reach you and seek any kind of redressal for their grievance. Because see, they're coming from a lot of hurt, they are deprived, and most importantly, they fear exploitation. So if we look at from that point of view, you have to ultimately put yourself in their shoes and be purposeful. Ultimately, in community mediation, specifically, I say that because they are more about the have-nots. It is a self-help mechanism where they get to own their problems and do away with the dependency culture. They are basically, we have to keep reiterating to them that it is an initiative to be taken by them. Solutions are theirs. It is a party-centric process. Now, we use mediation as the means to the end, which is about harmony and peace, because both are inseparable. We have to speak the voice of integrity, neutrality, empathy, which builds optimism and faith. And this ultimately, all these factor into a reconciliation when parties feel heard. Now, also when I talk about trust, I would say that we have to make sure the parties feel empowered, because that is what is going to encourage them to put all their cards on the table. Because see, ultimately, if they hold their cards too tight, I think there is no way which they would even get closer to any settlement. So that kind of comfort is only provided by the demeanor of the mediator. So your effort has to be that all the facts are put on the table. The environment is such that where they feel that they are being heard, and the picture emerges for the parties in a conducive environment, and they find that it is useful for them to use this platform. In fact, if you during the mediation process, we often note that they do not want to address each other because of the animosity. So mainly the communication is with the mediator. Now that is where it is the power of silence comes in. So you have to make them feel that they are being heard, and this helps particularly because then when they are heard, they start engaging with the mediator, and they start pouring their hearts out. They get into reflection and introspection mode, and with this silent reflection, they're able to go deep within. And that is when they go deep within, the role of the heart picks up, because that is actually causing the transformation and the healing. The mediator establishes a strong rapport with the parties and allows them to express emotions in a very comfortable and confidential place. And when we talk about the emotional, whenever venting happens, it's basically about the heart. So the emotions are coming from their heart, they're outpouring their stories, and they are trying to, kind of tackle it in their heads. So all these are mechanisms which really help to take the process forward. In fact, we as mediators, for us also, it's a life skill, because we are listening to parties and we have to be patient without offending anybody. We have to make sure that we are also detaching ourselves while we are listening to them from the emotions, because as a mediator, you cannot get carried away. But all these ingredients help us even build our own life skills. So basically, of course, coming from the topic, one would comprehend very clearly that mediation is at its core inherently spiritual. There is no human being who's not faced a conflict or a challenge. And the long and short of it is these conflicts and challenges come in our lives for a reason, to probably elevate us, transform us into higher beings, and strive for higher potential to move beyond the conflict, become better spiritual beings. So basically, when parties experience this, there is I wouldn't say for all, some of them, there is a shift in thinking. So when this shift in thinking happens, either it could drain them completely, or they could see a better picture by putting themselves in the shoes of the other parties and realize that, okay, through themselves, their self, through cooperation, removing the barriers, connecting with the other party, being able to narrate their stories, creating options, they'll be able to satisfy not just themselves, but the others as well. So that is the beauty of mediation, where it's just not about me, it's about we. And it is a process where there is a give and take. So we are basically motivating people herein, and rather than be selfish and mechanical, we would want them to have their human dignity intact, and their self growth also. So these are the few thoughts which come to my mind, because often we see parties, when they are there with the mediator, they have a very, very rigid attitude. So when they have that rigid attitude, they are not willing to talk. And when they're not willing to talk, then the entire mediation forum, I think, is something which will not be constructive for them. So it is our job to ensure that there's a dialogue happening and we provide them that flexibility to explore options, explore resolutions. We are also creating where they start thinking for their future. Like, they should have a vision which is long term. They should drop habits which didn't work in the past, and which weren't healthy for them. So basically, to bring them to the heart of things, uniting them, letting their differences go away, and viewing mediation as a journey of the heart. we use, of course, storytelling and some techniques which are about problem solving. And they become basically, it is focusing on unity and harmony primarily, so that the community flourishes. So we come in from there, because ultimately, see, wherever there is anger and unhappiness, people don't move forward. And when they don't move forward, things start stagnating. And when they start stagnating, then obviously you will not see progress. So this is one mechanism where, if parties are willing, because it's ultimately about them, where they come with an open mind and they are willing to adapt these few essential elements, then we as mediators who come in from also spiritual thought process are able to put in the sense of calm and connectedness, and which is, of course, a very powerful aspect of mediation into our parties. So basically, also the fact that, I mean, of course, the facilitative approach which we takes, it talks about asking the right questions. So when we ask the right questions, and they're basically open-ended right questions, or however you may term it, that also sets the mind thinking. And there is, as I mentioned, reflection, introspection simultaneously happening. And this is also leading them to realize that relationships are of immense importance. And it is these relationships that gives that energy, that common connection between us. And if they are open to this, then obviously the healing of relationships start taking place, as we witness in some of the mediation sessions. Now, also, of course, Vikram, you would agree that besides compassionate listening, speaking from the heart, of late, we have also, and I mean, of course, we are workers for peace, but in mediation, I have noticed that the environment of late is also about materialism. See, when you pick up I would say, like a divorce matter. So there are a lot of financial aspects and all. And in that, of course, at that time, it is very much understood that parties are in no frame of mind to even consider talking about spirituality or understanding the concepts. Their mind frame is very different. So in that kind of environment where we are working with a different kind of mental frame, there our body language also becomes very, very important. See, when we talk about a body language, we have to give them the feeling that we are there for them. We are fully giving our attention. And whatever challenges and conflicts that are coming in their life is all fine. It's all natural. It's all okay. So, they shouldn't feel that they are the unique ones. So it is our body language here, which, I would say is more indirectly caring, for the parties. And you have to be fully present there for them. And it should create a space where they feel that they are respected and they are being tolerated for no matter what. They are not being judged. And the connection is a safe place which they have formed with us, where they could indulge in deeper conversations, let them heart out. And, this is basically what I would say, that the way we kind of question the parties, it has to be, again, I mean, there should be no arrogance in our body language. That is something which we have to be mindful of most of the time. We have to keep them feeling that, okay, this is a forum where they could use their imagination, their creation, and anything which flows towards transforming not only them, but even their dispute for the betterment is what we are meant to be providing for them. So that is, of course, one aspect of it. Then another is that, we have experienced, and I'm sure, Vikram, you also, there are times when you have that opportune moment where you add in an element of humor. we have couple of times in our joint sessions when we have seen so much of parties being into aggression, and we feel that okay, there is a moment where you could just add in a line and they feel like laughing. So that becomes a very liberating factor. I mean, you suddenly see them smiling and you feel that okay, there is still some joy existing in their lives. And that also gives you a little kind of encouragement that yes, there is a possibility where they would like to kind of forgive themselves, each other. And that famous proverb that laughter is the best medicine, that is something also which we firmly believe in. Because see, ultimately they say when we are in image of God, so if we laugh, then I'm sure God laughs the loudest. So yeah, that is and then of course the aha moment for most of us is when emotionally charged and parties, and there have been long drawn battles between them, reconnect and their disputes are buried. So this is something which as mediators we all really look forward to. And then we were also, when I had mentioned about the disputes, like illustratively the marital discords and all which happened. So at that time I was mentioning that they are in no frame of mind, and the spiritualism gets totally sidelined and they are not focusing on harmony. So that is, and there's so much of mistrust, anger and frustration, and I mean there are a lot of I would say vengeance and that hate kind of element. So rather than anything else, I would say literally close to being enemies, because they're carrying so much of baggage. So there I feel that as a mediator we could just reconnect the parties by something which helps them connect to their inner source, their inner strength, because each one of us has strong points. So and believe me, any conflict is very draining. It just doesn't let your mind work right. So if we probably give them a direction where they feel that okay, they all have a strength which they could, probably it could be, I would say any strength. I mean, it could be related to a hobby, it could be related to writing, it could be related to art, anything which works for them. Because see, ultimately anything which is given, bestowed by the creator within us, if we are able to explore that, it kind of delinks you from the hurt element which you are carrying. So when day in and day out, if you're carrying that hurt element, you are going to be conditioned in a way where you are not going to be open or receptive to any thought pattern which is constructive. So when we are able to kind of give them a light guidance, that probably when you are away from mediation, you are on your own, you could use your time and use it in a way which brings some joy to your life. And it's of course a hard journey, undoubtedly, and as mediators we understand, because there is a struggle for finances, there's a struggle for custody, whereas XYZ reasons, but there is a sunny side to it too. So it's something we may just be able to help in their lives by just giving them a little direction, so that they could make choices which are going to work favorably for their future. And of course, again, I'm reiterating that if it's about me as a mediator, then it is more importantly about the parties, how receptive they are going to be to whatever is mentioned to them. So, and then we also, ultimately, I'm also touching upon this fact that it's a pleasure to see that conflict management has come down to being taught to youngsters these days. See, because ultimately what happens is the right training when you're young is the foundation stone. And it basically is sowing seeds. And when we want to sow seeds of peace and harmony, and we are kind of wanting a society, community, country, city, town, whatever you may name it, which believes in it, then children are the ones, the young minds are the ones which need to be trained in conflict management. And fortunately, I think a lot of people have taken this forward, where they are kind of inculcating respect for each other, empathy, I mean, humility, and all the ingredients which come, as conflict managers. I, in fact, also recall that when we, in one of the conversations, when we talked about the panchayat system, we talked about the family elders, we talked about young kids who, without training, are able to mediate. So, on the other hand, these are also inborn qualities as a mediator. So, imagine if they are inborn and thereafter you are able to kind of mediate matters. It's actually something which is, I think, His benevolence, Almighty's benevolence. When we talk about very famous William Ury, he's the co-founder of Abraham Path, and I'm sure most of you have heard of it, where it talks about walking side by side, shoulder to shoulder, where people don't fight because they walk together, which helps them resolve problems. So he talks about the power of walking with the power of story, power of hospitality, where the soul is open to receive kindness, understanding in the journey rather than divide, hospitality and kindness, which outlasts conflict, which is the sense of the path of peace of Mr. William Ury. So this is something which I found was really worth sharing. We also need to understand that to be in a conflict, that one is in a conflict because you are far away from what spirituality talks about. So we kind of also carry that thought: to lose is to gain. So by giving up the stumbling blocks, namely, of course, the attachments, the anger, the ego, the pride, by letting them go, we gain much more. And they are the most prized gifts, which we have been talking about: the peace, the harmony, the happiness, the goodwill, which comes our way. And ultimately, from India, we are strong believers in the law of karma, which kicks for all. It is believed to be the hand of God, where we get what we give. We make choices, but we are not free from the consequences of those choices. So our vocation as mediators provides us a path, not just for others, but for our personal growth, to build our spiritual connect, to become better people, and to give meaning to our and others' lives who are majorly into distress. And I would feel that we have to be grateful and realize that this is a significant blessing bestowed upon us to make a difference. Even if we make, it's like an ocean, even if a drop from us, I think we need to be grateful and use it productively. See, Christ was known as the compassionate. Buddha was known as the enlightened. Krishna was known as the perfect. They were all great representatives of their times, but the reality which was guiding them all was humanity. So there is not much difference in their teachings, but love is actually the religion of the universe, and they gave their teachings accordingly, which was at those times meant for the masses. And the secret to spiritual growth is that, of course, how ultimately knowledge is information, but practicing is actually the trick. So when we talk about the secret to spiritual growth, it is about letting go of the past, which is full of suffering, live in the present, live in the here, and live in the now. So that is how it should be. And as mediators, we are adding hope daily. We're trying to build a golden bridge for the parties, making them take a leap of faith that embeds the spiritual principles in the process. So these are the few views I had to share today with everyone, and I just hope it's been of some worth. So that's all I have.
This was very nice, Prerna. It's just what all you've covered. Of course, each of those things need more discussion, and you have to elaborate also maybe. But before that, Prerna, you have to tell us about yourself, because we know where you're coming from, and then your spirituality. All those aspects are very important.
Okay, so I am basically from India and I reside in Delhi, and we have a law firm, and of course that is into different areas of law besides mediation. So I started my career, a first generation into law, and I started my career in 1992 from the Supreme Court and completely into litigation. Then I worked in the High Court, and then I worked in a research organization. And then I just kind of also am a firm believer of bringing balance to life. So God was kind, and I was able to kind of, juggle between work and family in a way where I was able to give time to the elders and the children in the family. And fortunately, by the grace of God, I'm married to a lawyer. So, I mean, of course, that is of a plus, because ultimately one person who's completely into the office scene helps the other to kind of bring balance to the home front. And 2012, I think there was an interaction on mediation, and it caught my eye and evoked interest in me. 2014, I took a training in mediation, and thereafter I was completely part of the community mediation. And I mean, that was very close to my heart, because see, India is such a large country, and I'm sure most of you know that lot of our population is still in the rural. And to kind of it takes a lot for them to just step out of their zone and even come to a city. So I have full respect for people who have actually walked into our center, and they have tried to understand what mediation is, tried to outpour their heart. And I've actually had elderly women say that they had nowhere to go. And it really, brings memories to my mind, where they try to, knowingly, unknowingly, they are so, I would say, such pure souls, that they feel at that time that if you are sitting there, there's somebody big sitting there. I mean, not big as a person, but somebody sent maybe by Almighty for them to be heard. So literally, there have been occasions where one or two elder women try to come and pay their respects in a way which you are so much younger to them, and you feel not only embarrassed, but you feel, as I said, we have to be grateful for this blessing, that at least. And that is how it kept encouraging me every time I would be in a session, that yes, this is something, irrespective parties choose to work it out, don't choose to work it out, it's fine. But we as mediators, what we think is right, what we feel from the heart, actually, it's actually the heart to heart connect. When you see they say eyes are the soul to the world. So you actually see pain, when you see pain in their eyes. I mean, that's again something which is very difficult to kind of at that time as a mediator, because see, you are dealing with another spirit, another human. So it is not possible that it doesn't affect you, but at that time, to maintain your calm and composure, which you are actually harping about, is very important, but it becomes a little difficult. But nevertheless, you have to keep trying. And you have the haves and you have the have-nots. So now when we talk about the have-nots, I talk with more passion about them, because I feel, where do they ultimately go? They don't have lawyers, they don't have any education, they don't have hands to hold. So if even in a minor way they are with me or with my brothers and sisters who are mediators, I think at least, they may get a direction and they will not be misdirected. So for me, I think that was a big push to continue with mediation. And thereafter, of course, I took a couple of training programs in India and internationally also. And it was just for my own head, basically, to take these, to learn more, because I think it's very, very important. Each day we are learning. It's just not about a training program. I think when we are into human interaction, we learn a lot more, aspects which we never knew existed. And, when we are sitting in the comfortable zone of our homes or our families or our offices or whatever, the ground realities actually open up your eyes. So that actually, I feel, was something which I feel very strongly about in mediation. And I mean, then thereafter I continued. Now I'm, of course, a part of the Delhi High Court and the mediation center there. And of course, it being a informal process, you kind of try to be sensitive to the human dignity, and it's not very easy for anybody to open out with their emotions. It takes a lot, and I think this is a beautiful process wherein it's strictly confidential, and mediators being are following their ethics, and when they are following their ethics, they are so conscious of this fact. So I think when you whatever you have to say, you're saying it in a room where there is nobody, and it is your right to make sure that it doesn't go out. So I think it's got a balming effect actually when you talk about the single sessions where parties are actually, so it has not only a calming, but it has a balming effect also. And we come from a country which talks a lot about tolerance, and we have to somehow I think make sure that it is not just carried forward by us, but as I said, the youth, the future generation, which is actually going to hold it strong for us. And I think that the patterns of overthinking which are there, that in parties, I mean, obviously when you are there with them, you realize that at times they tend to overthink a lot. And if they're coming from a litigative mindset, then they are very rigid, to break those. And you just need to understand that you can never work where you have a heartless mind, let's say. It has to have heart, so because of course another very this thing, that when you are really at crossroads, just close your eyes, hold your heart, it'll lead you on. So it's like, and so I feel mediation actually is something which is teaching me a lot. It is teaching me a lot. Yes.
No, I
So
think
that's
that
about me. That's about me.
no, that's not. There is lots more, because you have to tell us about, first of all, what spirituality means to you and your journey in spirituality, because I know there is lots inside which you have to tell us, because it's important, because to connect the entire thing, what you've said is connected to that inside you, that spirituality in you, because when you said it resonated with you, when you looked at mediation and whatever, whenever you got that opportunity to learn about it, so it connected with you, because I'm saying there was something inside you which it connected with. So that part of it also I want to get into. I want to,
So Vikram, as I said, we read a lot, we hear a lot, we see a lot, but actually how much are we able to follow it? I put this question almost every day to myself. I'm not talking about anybody here. I'm just talking about myself. See, there are our scriptures, they are wealth of knowledge. I mean, they have answers to questions which probably we couldn't even, those questions would not even have been thought by me at least, but they provide answers. So fact of the matter is that when you talk about, spirituality for me, every day it's a fight. It's a fight to learn something and then to be able to make it a part of me. You tell me something, it's okay, fine, we are all mediators, we are, by the grace of God, I've seen most mediators do wonderful when they're on the seat, but let's not forget we are humans. So when you've had a bad day or you've had a bad matter in court, because most of us are lawyers also, so you've not had a very happy situation in court and you're rushing to a mediation session, how fast are you able to switch off and switch on? All these aspects. For me, that is when I actually think that for the parties, they are having a different challenge. But as mediators, this is another challenge in our head, that how fast are we able to switch the roles? And, yes, when, of course, the touching ground, as I mentioned to you, is that when they are today life is just racing by for each one. I really don't know how many people have the time to stop and listen to anyone. If you ever notice, I mean, the technology, you would say, or the kind of environment that is there, everybody's on a race and nobody knows where the race ends or what the race is all about. The race, it's just a race. You may term it as a rat race or whatever you may say. So that is also something which I think we should stop and think. that what is our role in that race. So of course, a lot of questions come, but bottom line for me is that if you could be a good human being, you could be good, you know, I would say, of course, the definition of good would vary, perceptions would vary, but to be able to bring a difference in anyone's life, as I mentioned, even in a minuscule way, I feel his hand is there. So that's the way I look at it.
But you want to tell us a little bit about your spiritual journey? That's going to be very interesting.
Well, my spiritual journey, I mean, I think when you're young, you are, I think, basically very different. When you kind of, yeah, I mean, as I said, your own life, you know, when you have a loss of someone in somebody very close to you. And of course, COVID times, illustratively, I'd say that, you know, people have not gone through very easy times. I mean, you know, most of the families were hit without going into details. So, you know, something I think triggers it when you begin this journey. Either you're born with it, as I mentioned, you have the elders, you have the young chota bachas who are already, you know, so smart in their head and they're already mediating in their simple ways. Either it's inborn or something causes you to go on that path. See, when you see so much of hurt, when you see that there are families who are, you know, when I was into this community mediation, I recall that some of them didn't even have money to come in a bus or auto, and they would tell me ki ma'am dusri party nahi aayi, the other party, I'm sorry, I'm saying it in Hindi, but the other party is not here and we have walked 4 hours to reach the center, and now what do we do? And as a mediator, you're neutral. You just look at them and you look blank, because ultimately they were meant to be here, but it's a voluntary process. You know, so that is that keeps. I mean, each experience keeps bringing to your head a lot of things, and I think ultimately you realize that yeah, spirituality actually emanates from the word spiritual, spirits. So we are all part of that one. And somewhere I think that just the fact that you make a difference gives you so much of happiness, which I think is, you can't put terms to it.
Oh, definitely, because what you interestingly said about the children, you actually find that seed, can you call it a seed, or they actually beyond a seed, they have it in them, and children actually know who those children are. So that's what I've been trying to say, that let's just identify them at that stage itself, and in families and in communities, that people who people know. And all these aspects that you were talking about, the spiritual aspect and coming from the heart, coming from the soul, I think people realize that they know those people, and we have not maybe valued those people, because you spoke about materialism. The direction of society went into valuing different things. So these core values, which should have been part of our life everywhere, I think maybe we lost out on that. Is it because we maybe imported a certain culture where maybe these aspects were not important? I mean, I don't know. I mean, these are discussion points. We can discuss these over the symposium. But I think all these aspects have to be looked at, and then connecting that, because what society has is also going to be something which goes into disputes, which is also going to be part of the mediator, the mediation process, the parties, everything. So I think there is a lot of connection there. And that's why the idea behind this symposium was that let's bring these aspects out, because I don't see them being discussed so much, because there is a certain box of mediation and whatever you call it, training. I always say that it's not a nice thing to say, because there is a skill already there, and training really puts skills. So I've started using the word skill development, or honing the skill, whatever. So I think that aspect has to also be looked at from that perspective, that we have to look at the larger picture, and how do we change? Are we going to first change society, and then are we going to look at these changes in disputes and dispute resolution? How we're going to go about it? So all parts of discussion, because you've looked at community mediation, and that's very interesting, your observations there. So you will bring in a lot of insights from there. So I think very interesting. So what I need to do is also, Prerna, I have to take you through a little bit on what's really happening in terms of my events, because there's so much happening. So I just want to I'll just touch a little bit on April, because just to give you an idea, because I mean, so basically this is that in conversation with a beautiful mind, and you have to come on this show also. So we have to fix up a time with you on that. So she's from Kazakhstan. It was a very nice conversation. And these conversations go anywhere. Now, this is something related to the thought behind the symposium. This is on Diwali, I put this message out. So if there is light in the soul, there will be beauty in the person. If there's beauty in the person, there will be harmony in the house. If there's harmony in the house, there will be order in the nation. If there is order in the nation, there will be peace in the world. It all starts with the soul. So this is part of the thought behind the symposium. I mean, these are all connected things, which I think we have lost out on maybe, or we have to
This is a
rediscover.
beautiful one. I would definitely like to kind of, go on with this thing, because this is a very meaningful one.
Yeah, that's what I really found it really nice. And it connected with Diwali only from the perspective of that light in the soul. So it's connected from there. So let's be the light the world needs. So this is right now the number of speakers that we have right now. Think people can be added. People can be added. I've opened it out because it's going to be throughout April, so people can come in. So these are people from
So I'll put this clip, this one on our ZEUS website. I'll just put that. I'll tell them to put it on our website.
Yeah.
Particular clip. I'll tell them.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'll do that.
So basically, Ken is the keynote speaker, which is tomorrow at 9:30.
Very good. I saw one of his YouTube. I mean, they are so, I mean, they emanate what actually a mediator should, like the peace, the calm, the care, I mean, I was just looking at his, and, I also feel that to add on, everybody is doing something or the other, right? Now, when everybody who's doing something like maybe football or into dramatics or into a movie, so you see everybody is into it, but that one will always stand out. And that is where I feel is actually the God's gift, the divine gift being bestowed on him hugely.
Exactly. That's it. That's what you said is actually important. And that is why I have Ken there, because he personifies what I want to put out as what a mediator has to have. I mean, because we have to put a face to a mediator, which is what maybe the world also doesn't know. I mean, because first of all, mediation itself, we have to keep talking about. And it's not something that they can't connect to, but we have to connect it to something that they know about, the process they know about. And then they have to have a face. So that's why I have Ken there, because I keep telling Ken also, look, I don't read what he writes because I don't read books. But it's just the person, the soul. I mean, you connect with that beautiful soul. And that is what I think is really important about having him doing all these shows. I always try to start shows with him. Of course, he could not start it on the first day because he didn't have that time that day. But I said, whenever. So then this is on Saturday. And Anna's from Ukraine. Of course, she had to move out from Ukraine. Now, right now, she's in Spain. It's a difficult time for her, definitely. But of course, I would have wanted her to just speak about whatever. I mean, I'm not going to push her on to what is really happening there. And I mean, I would not want to. Her husband is still in Ukraine. So we'll get that.
Just give our wishes to her, and I'm sure, like,
you can drop in and give her wishes also. That's at 7 o'clock India time. So this was what I'm doing is I'm celebrating international days. So World Creativity and Innovation Days on 21st April. So we'll have a discussion on creativity, innovation, and mediation. So interesting part, Francesca has a very, I mean, she has interesting thoughts on music and mediation. So she's done a lot of work there. So you must watch that. It's really interesting. Kathy is, of course, spoken about poetry and mediation, art and mediation in the last symposium also. And I mean, I'm looking arts and mediation. Andrea in Brazil has a platform which is, of course, an online platform, but innovation in that sense in mediation, whatever. I mean, the idea is to open it out for discussion. There is someone who sent me a message that he's doing something on theater and mediation. I want him to be part of it. If he can come in, let's see how that. I sent him a message. Let's see what comes out for that. So I'm just trying to open up the discussion. If someone wants to come in anyway in terms of creativity and innovation, because it is, I think, important to discuss various aspects of mediation. So what we had was, this was the first speaker in the symposium, which happened on 7th. Interesting conversation. This, of course, person you might know. We haven't really got to know her. We have to get to know her. But yes, we will still, we'll do it in that in conversation with the beautiful mind.
I think I am like kind of the topic which you chose today. I think that was something which I kind of learned myself, because whenever you kind of make your points, you're also learning. And it's something which is very close to my heart, like the spirituality thing. So I think
I know that, Prerna. I
that.
know that. Yeah, I
Thank
know
you.
that. That's why I called you. I know that connection. That's what I'm trying to do. The people that I call, I know are connected in some way to that aspect. Otherwise, of course, the discussion otherwise doesn't go anywhere if it doesn't. So I think, because all the points that you people will bring out are very important, very, very important. So Elena comes in at 12:30. Then we have Jody Grant from Australia at 1:30. This is all today. It's all today. 7:30 is Lisa, and at 8:30 is Kathy. That's today. So tomorrow, what do we have? We have Sarah from at 12 o'clock India. Then Gunavati at 1 o'clock. Then 6 o'clock, Gabriela. Gabriela, we've had interesting discussions, a lot of aspects. She has a very interesting thing, which Prerna, I think we need to also develop, is family constellations. That's a very interesting concept that they've started using in the Brazilian courts. She's spoken about it, maybe separately. Maybe I'll tell you about it also, because I mean, it takes some time to talk about it, because we actually did a special session with someone who actually had an issue. So we actually went through that. She took us through that constellation process, through that. Not putting it out. I'm not putting it out on YouTube, because this is someone's individual thing, which right now don't want to put out. Maybe if someone wants to then do it a live thing, we can then maybe do it later. It's an interesting process. Then at 7 o'clock, Federico was also part of Socrates and Mediation. That's a very interesting discussion we had. So we must watch that. They're all on the YouTube channel. And then Ken comes in tomorrow at 9:30. That's how, right now for the symposium. Then I'll put out the schedule for next week later. Now, only thing is, for how people can get to know about what all is happening in this sense. So what I'll do is, let me just share that. It's not difficult. I keep putting it out, but it's not difficult. So basically, you just go to the YouTube channel, or that if you, I mean, you can go to mediatorvikram.com and find the link, or you can search Mediator Vikram online. So if on the channel, when you look at videos, you'll see what all is upcoming. So all these are, because this is going live right now. So Prerna is going live right now. So others are already scheduled. So all these are available there. The other way, which I keep saying you must do, is on anyone's profile, LinkedIn profile. If you press that bell icon here, you can actually get to know the posts. When the person puts out any new post, you can get to know. So this is for everyone. I mean, for everyone. So these are ways that you can get to know. Then, of
So
course,
this link of today's conversation, that is something which you will now send it out
it's
on the.
already there. It's already up there. It's already right now. It's on. It's live on YouTube. And as soon as the session finishes, definitely the recording is also there. Because I put everything right there, because there's no concept of editing. There's so many videos I put out. I can't do editing. So it just goes out. So that's about the kind of ways that people can find out. Because right now it's going live on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. So all the videos will also be available there. So links to these on my website, the mediatorvikram.com, links to all the social media platforms are there. Look, I keep telling people this, but so that, I mean, they can actually, from my end, keeping people updated through emails for me would not be possible. I might do it later, because I do everything on my own. So I need to, that emails might not be possible. But if they stay in touch with the posts, and I try to keep updating the website also. So on the website, on mediatorvikram.com, you have a section. These are all all the social media links. Of course, you can also send me a message or whatever. But schedule of activities, there is a section there. So You can, I mean, it is normally updated sometimes, yes. But mediation vision, okay, I didn't tell you about, do you know about this mediation vision 2026? Okay, what I did was, let's put out a vision for the evolution of mediators and mediation. I put out 2026 was Ken's 85th birthday. So I put it out there. So we did have something called, we have mediation visionaries. So if you just press this show more, you see more. So Ken Cloke has the two parts of the discussion with him on that. Then with Mr. Panchu, there is one discussion with him on that. Then I put out topics for discussion. So culture and traditions is important. The symposium I already went through. There are already 97 speakers in that. So that's happened last year. So you can get to know in terms of connection with culture and traditions, because we have to go back to go in the future. So to look at traditional methods of mediation and connecting people with that. So that'll be important. This I'll tell you later. There is a
Culture
symposium.
plays a huge role in mediation, you know. It's like,
Exactly. That was the idea behind the symposium, that we have to connect with the culture and tradition. So I'll just tell you about how I'm connecting it again later. So decolonization, for me, very important. I think colonization really affected traditional methods of the dispute resolution, and to the conditioning of the mind that courts and lawyers are the ones who you go to for dispute resolution. That has to change. Like I said, the aspect of the heart, soul, and spirituality maybe was removed from our system, and a new concept was pushed in. And there has been hundreds of years, and that whole conditioning of the mind needs to be changed. It's not going to happen in a day or two. It's going to take time. So heart, soul, and spirituality obviously is a very important aspect. So there've been discussions. So part of this mediation vision 2026, there'll be people's vision on these topics. So heart, soul, and spirituality, I've had two discussions with Gabriela. So those are there. Then Mahatma Gandhi and mediation, we had a discussion. So that's, you can click the YouTube link here and you can see the thing from here. So there've been two parts of that. So there's been very interesting discussions. So philosophy is a topic we must discuss in relation to mediation. So Socrates and mediation was that. Then diversity, equity, inclusion. So obviously you were part of that session, that Women's Day. So we did that. Then after that, now individually, I had some discussions on women and mediation, because obviously in that session, there were almost 25 women from, of course, about more than 14 countries, I think. So they didn't get too much time. So I'm going to have these separate sessions, but now after the symposium, because definitely. So Mediators Collective and Peacemakers Collective have written about it, because for me, there are two aspects. One is those peacemakers who are going to get parties together and get the mediators together, identify mediators, first of all, in villages, in communities, in families, and then let's bring them out. And the peacemakers to connect the entire thing, to connect people. At any point of time, you tell me, look, Vikram, I don't want you to go ahead. I'm getting bored. You can tell me. But this is, I talk about all this. So any point of time, you can tell me that. So culture of mediation, culture of peace has to be developed. Children, really important, what you said. I mean, if we can bring all these aspects into their lives, into their education, maybe connecting with the heart, soul, and spirituality, by itself, a lot of disputes can get resolved from within themselves. Then the identifying those children who have all that, bring that forward. So within families, communities, maybe village mediators, community mediators, you already done the community part. Then a discussion of whether it's a profession or just a way of life, a discussion on that. Then the legislation, the regulation that people they're trying to regulate mediation, like the mediation bill, which is lying in parliament. Of course, for me, that's the worst thing that can happen. This is a way of life. I mean, you start regulating a way of life. Are you going to get into people's houses and regulate things? So I have a little bit of a problem there. Obviously, Singapore Convention, how it changes mediation. At least people will start talking about it when legislation comes. So creativity, innovation, I just told you that discussion. Then the social problem solving, global problem solving. I've had some discussions on this with Ken also, and we have that. So that's there. The digital online mediation. So how to use social media to get the word out to people about mediation, then to use it for the mediation. So there was one very interesting session I did with Alberto from Argentina. He's been doing a lot of work in online mediation, basically ODR. So, but for me, the focus is mediation. So there was a very interesting session about what. And science and technology, we'll have some discussions on artificial intelligence and mediation. So all that. So this is the symposium that's happening now. I've put out, so I'm celebrating 18th May as International Mediators Day because it's Ken's birthday. So we'll have a conference. We'll start a conference on 18th May. Then Peacemakers Day I've put out as 19th July for whatever reason. So this is that symposium in August. So it'll be a symposium on mediation in our culture and traditions again, but it will coincide with International Day of World's Indigenous People. So let's go down to that aspect, how the indigenous people are doing it and how we can learn from them and go forward. Then on decolonization and mediation to coincide with International Day of Democracy. And then we'll have a Peacemakers Conference for our young peacemakers for Children's Day. So then I put out the projects that if you have any projects to take these things forward, so get in touch. Let's put people together who want to maybe fund those projects or give time, mentorship. So do that. And of course, support me. I put out on my website also that I don't charge anything for what I do, but you can always send me a gift. So I put that. So under a lot of, I mean, in terms of Ken's thing, you can find a whole section on whatever has happened with Ken, whatever show he's come on. So you can click from here also. So evolution of a mediator, what we started with. So there are 4 parts of that: the mediation visionaries, global problem solving, books that we've discussed. So lots that happen. YouTube channel, you can find a lot of information, all the links to various shows. There's a first symposium, all the links, all the shows that I have, and then a little bit about mediation, Singapore Convention, and supporting and joining me, and a little bit about me. So I've covered my part of it also. Because I have to tell people, because I definitely know that no one keeps in touch. So Prerna, one concluding remark or remarks, please. What would you like to conclude on? What note?
Well, I would say that give out goodness to the universe. That's something which at least try. So that is something which I feel is very important, especially during times, as you said, that some of the mediators are in countries where there is war and, there's so much of crisis. So I really pray that mentally we all actually look up to things which we were meant to be doing. So I feel that, yes, right now we need a lot of healing, and healing not only through prayers, but some actions as well.
And the important thing is to identify those with the mediator mindset who have all the things that we're talking about. Because when you said about mediators, say in Ukraine, the interesting thing is that session that we did with Gabriela, there were mediators from Russia and Ukraine. But there was nothing. There were obviously no animosity or anything there, because I feel the people with the mediator mindset rise above all that. So that is really important, because I have had some mediators who call themselves mediators who had an issue. I mean, the way they spoke about it, I did not think that that was what a mediator really, a person with a mediator mindset thinks like. Because otherwise we don't have hope. Because we don't have hope if mediators also fall into that trap. So to be able to, otherwise then for any of this is of course a Ukraine-Russia issue, but otherwise also, if we start getting into that and we don't rise above it, I don't think we can practice as mediators. So that's important. So Prerna, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Conversations are going to continue with you. It's always a pleasure speaking to you. So definitely we'll have more such sessions. So I'll just stop the recording and the live stream, and